It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Sports don't stop, and neither do we. Welcome to 365 Sports, your home for real conversations, original shows, and coverage that lives where sports actually happen. Join David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and myself, Paul Catalina, for in-depth interviews and local stories to the moments national media misses. 365 Sports brings you the voices, debates, and perspectives fans care about every single day. Subscribe now on YouTube, search 365 Sports, and never miss a moment because sports aren't seasonal. They're 365.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
Just use amp pace.
Pace.
With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high-quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional-grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US. Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ULIKE.com. Ulike.
Hey, it's Matt Mosley of The Matt Mosley Show. We want you to watch our show every day, 1 to 3 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And you get to see big name guests like Gary Patterson, Art Briles, Scott Drew, Doug McNamee, major Cowboys insiders, ESPN legends like Sal Palantonio. When news breaks on Cowboys or Baylor or NFL, we want you to look here first. 1 to 3 weekdays, it's the Matt Mosley Show.
The Pete Sousa Show. We're going to finish. Let's just finish a little bit. Now, how did this get wet? Who knows? But this is for you. This isn't for me. Okay. We got to keep the glare down. We got to make sure. And I don't do this too well. I was taught in my TV news days how to put on makeup, and I've kind of forgotten. Cam Stewart.
Dude, I can't wait. That's got to go in the next promo.
Did you put makeup on?
No, never.
You never did?
Natural, baby. I also wasn't an anchor.
Yeah, but even in the field,
anchor, but
nothing for glare?
No. God-given, man. God-given.
Oh, well, all right. We'll get back to Cam Stewart.
All right. Great. Some more makeup talk later.
Cam's in Boston, and he will be joining us periodically throughout the show. Big day today. We are at the TFNB Bank Studios, baby. That's right. Live here in Waco, Texas. 365 Sports. We're coming at you with all kinds of interesting shows, content, my show in particular, right? The Pete Sousa Show. We are closing in on 100,000 subscribers already. I think we're like at 98,200 something. And when you get numbers like that, you welcome guys like Jerry Palm to your show. I mean, and he doesn't even remember. Jerry, you were one of my very first guests 2 years ago when I made this switch. And you came on. You were so kind. And, we're making progress, and clearly you've made all the progress, man. But thank you very much for joining us once again, as it's March 2nd, baby. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, it's a busy time of year, but really my favorite time of year as well.
You're a civil engineer by trade. I love that about you. It lends instant credibility to these formulas. And my question for you off the top is, with all the noise that we have today and all the information at our fingertips, analytical information too, numbers, how much has your formula changed over the course of the years that you've been doing this? Decades. Has it changed at all?
Well, I don't really have a formula for putting together a bracket, because when you do something like that, you take away the human element, and there is definitely a human element to putting a bracket together. There's a committee that does it, and that's a bunch of humans making decisions based on their own internal things that they value, plus collectively what they value. And you have to be able to think through some things that the numbers aren't going to show you. So I don't have a formula. Oh, by the way, my degree is computer science, actually. So the only thing I can build is brackets. Nobody wants to be on a bridge that I'm building, but it's so over the years, the data that the committee looks at has changed, but the process itself hasn't really changed a lot. You've got more teams. They try and they made it so that you made it easier to keep teams from the same conference apart from each other, to put together fair brackets and things like that. But the process is still the process. It's still, a dozen or so people in a room, talking about these teams, watching these teams all year so that they have good information that's not just on paper, and then, spending 4 or 5 days trying to get a good bracket out.
My fiance is an engineer. I can't get around it. I can't, it permeates my thoughts, every thought. When you talk about the human element, last year, before we go forward and talk about the teams this year, I do want to touch on last year. The North Carolina, Bubba Cunningham, West Virginia's out. Bubba Cunningham, AD at North Carolina at the time, was in the room. Do you think that stuff like that has an impact on the decision-making process? Like, do you think that did last year?
I don't, but that's because I trust the process. However, when something like that happens, if you're inclined not to trust the process, you've been given a very good reason not to trust the process. I thought that North Carolina had demonstrated more pronounced than any other team had done that they were not an NCAA tournament team. They played a dozen games against NCAA tournament teams and won one of them. So nobody had ever proven more conclusively that they weren't an NCAA tournament team than North Carolina. And there they were. So, when you make decisions like that, don't seem to have a merit-based reason to be there, then you open the door to that kind of speculation.
Well, I was on your site just last night, and I know going into the weekend, you had TCU, San Diego State, Cal, and USC as your last 4 in. This morning, we wake up, March 2nd. Who are your last 4 in right now?
They are, if you give me just a second, I just finished my bracket. So
all right.
I need to look at it again and sort it out. But It should be.
You can take all
the
the
last
time you
four
need
in are A&M, Texas A&M, Texas, Ohio State, and San Diego State. And the first four out are VCU, Cal, USC, and Indiana.
So what changed for Cal?
Cal lost.
Yeah.
Well, they lost to Pitt at home, so that's a bad loss. When you're trying to make the NCAA tournament, that's not really a game you can afford to lose. And their resume, obviously, when you're down in that part of the bracket, has got other holes in it anyway.
And Texas, how did they make the jump to get back in? Because that's one of those teams, we're in Texas here. A lot of excitement around the Longhorns, as always, excitement around Sean Miller. They got a ton of talent, but it's like, okay, they've got to make the dance in order to make a run. What about them? What have they done recently that moved them into the conversation, into the dance for you?
Yeah, they had a nice 5-game winning streak, starting at the end of January, and then they lost 2 in a row at Georgia, home Florida. No real shame in either of those losses, but now they just beat A&M on the road over the weekend, and that was a big win for Texas, and that's got them, right there back, in fighting spot. But the work is not done. For these teams that are, those 8 teams and, probably another 8 teams, the work isn't going to really be done until we get to Selection Sunday. There's still time, especially for the major conference teams who still have a week to go in the regular season before their conference tournaments to either really help yourself or, put yourself right out.
Jerry, you mentioned the conference tournaments, and you've been doing this a long time, probably the best in the business. When you see the excitement and the hype around these conference tournaments, how much do those games play a role into teams getting into the NCAA tournament when you compare them to the rigors of the regular season? Does that change at all? Because in Big 12 country, covering the Big 12 like I do, and this isn't an indictment on any team, but you do hear a team will take its foot off the gas when it gets to the tournament, knowing that it's a lock to be a 2 seed or a 3 seed, or it's in that orbit. Do you ever does that depreciate the value of some of the wins in the conference tournaments, or not at all?
The committee views them as just one of the 35-ish games you're playing. And the thing about conference tournaments is that for the most part, they're on neutral courts. So those are wins away from home or losses away from home. And wins away from home have a little more meaning than a home court win. So, but it's your last chance to try and bone up your resume to get the committee to choose you if you're a team on the bubble, or to just get to a better seed. And of course, you can win a conference championship as well, and that makes you an automatic qualifier, but it's also nice to have the trophy to put in your case. So so there's always something to play for. If you're a team that's on the bubble in particular, it's your last chance. But you have to understand there are 31 conference tournaments, 31 conference tournaments, and everybody else loses their final game. If you're in your conference tournament and you don't win it, all of these bubble teams, every at-large team in the NCAA tournament will have lost the last game of the regular season. So, you can't overreact to the fact that you're losing a game, in the conference tournament, because all of the teams that you might be competing with for a spot in the field will also lose that last game.
And I can't, when you talk about conferences, I can't ask you, but that's not what this is about. Like, hey, Jerry, how has NIL and the transfer portal changed the game of college basketball? But I can ask you how it has impacted the field of 68. And as you assess them, mid-majors, these conferences aren't quite getting the love that they were before. And it's, justifiable when you look at a team, like UAB, for example. Yax Lendeborg goes to play for Michigan. Christian Coleman's on Oklahoma State. Another reserve they have, Kid McGee, is playing at Mississippi State. So those teams get gutted, right, by other schools in Power 4, Power 5 conferences. When you look at the landscape of a conference like the American, like that is a one-bid league now, without question. Are there any other leagues like those mid-major leagues, like even Miami of Ohio we're talking about right now? Like, that is, they have got to win their conference tournament to get in, right? Let's talk about them. Did they have to get in? They do.
Yeah, they do, because their strength of schedule is right around 350 out of 365. And I've been doing this 30 some years, and the worst strength of schedule for an at-large team was 229, and that was 1994. So if you're 350, you're not getting in. You got to win your league. And I mean, going undefeated is hard. Miami doesn't have to go undefeated. They have to go undefeated in their conference tournament. So I hope they make it. I mean, I'm a Midwestern guy. I have a soft spot for the MAC. So I'd like to see them get in and see what they can do. But they've got to win their conference tournament to do it. But you were talking about the American, and this is all, by the way, the way that athletics are being funded. All of the money is going uphill to the major conferences, the 4 major conferences. We still have 5 in college basketball.
Yeah.
But the football money is what drives all of this. That's where the big money is. So I think we're going to see fewer at-large teams, and we're already starting to see this as a trend from the non-major conferences. And even the Big East is only going to get 3 teams in this year unless someone sneaks up and wins a conference tournament. So, but now that's only a 9-team league, so that's not as dramatically different. But you've got maybe 2 or 3 from the Mountain West. You've got 2 or 3 from the 2 for sure, and maybe 3 from the West Coast. And you're going to have a hard time finding another non-major conference with at-large bids. It's hard to find. And as the money continues to consolidate in those major conferences, it's going to be harder for leagues outside of those 4 to compete for at-large bids at all. And they want to expand the tournament. And I got to tell you, if they're expanding the tournament, they're not expanding it for Miami of Ohio, right? They're expanding it to get as many big money teams as they can into it. And this year, every year actually, but this year is just another great example of why the tournament does not need to be expanded.
That's a great point. I mean, obviously it's follow the money, right? And so we understand that. But from a basketball standpoint, from a competition standpoint, the excitement really comes when you're talking about, okay, what's going on this year, and the strength of the country basketball wise is in those top conferences. What is the best conference in your opinion this season?
I think top to bottom, it's been the Big Ten. They've got 4 or 5 teams that are going to be top 4 seeds, as does the Big 12. But the Big Ten is probably going to put more like 9 or 10 teams in, and the Big 12 is going to be closer to maybe 7 or 8 and more. There'll be a bigger gap between the top of their league teams and the ones in the Big 10. So I think the Big 10 will be more dispersed throughout the bracket, top heavy still, but more dispersed. So, but those 2 to me have been the strongest leagues. The SEC, of course, is having another good year. They had 14 in the tournament last year. It's not that good this year, and especially at the top. Although, watch out for Florida, because they have really turned it on in conference play, and they could end up a number 1 seed, and they look like a team that could defend their title. And Alabama also very good in that league when they choose to play defense. So there's great teams in each of these leagues. The ACC, of course, the usual suspects: Duke, Carolina, Virginia having a great year. So it should be an exciting tournament. I think the depth, the number of teams that could win the NCAA tournament this year. You're going to go and you're going to see 4 seeds, and you're going to look at that team and you're going to say, oh yeah, that team could win. And so it's going to be fun trying to fill out a bracket this year, because there are so many teams that are capable of winning a national champion.
One team that still is capable of winning a national championship, but their chances really took a hit when Richie Saunders was injured is BYU. I called a game out there earlier this year, and it felt like that big 3 that they had, this was a team ready to make a run. Injuries happen. That's just the nature of the beast. Is there a world where BYU could fall to even like an 8 or a 10 seed?
Well, they'd have to. It's getting kind of late for that. I think I've got them as a 6, so they'd have to take a bad loss in their conference tournament, and then maybe some other things that have to happen around them. It's. I think it's too late in the season for them to go into the tank. I guess there's still a week before their conference tournament. They could lose 3 in a row, and then you're looking at them in the middle of the bracket. And then I don't really want to be the 1 seed that's facing AJ DeBansa because he can carry your team. That's a guy who can put the team on his back even without Sanders. You could still win a couple of games. And that guy belongs in a 5 or a 6 seed kind of team and not an 8 seed.
How much do injuries impact what you do? Like JT Toppin up the road for us at Texas Tech. I mean, they're playing really good basketball right now, but does that still, his absence, does that factor into your placement of them?
Yeah, well, what the committee does with injuries like that when someone's out for the year, and I'm a fan of his. I'm a Purdue fan, so I've seen him a few times, and I just think he's a great player. And that kind of hurt me as a college basketball fan, and Saunders too, really. But it's what the committee does is they put a little bit more weight on how you play with the roster you're taking into the tournament. So you could have an injury in the middle of the season and the guy misses half a dozen games and you struggle a little bit or whatever, but then you're full strength when you get there. In this case, Texas Tech will not be full strength when they get there. BYU will not be full strength when they get there. So they have to take into account what the roster that they're bringing into the tournament can do. And sometimes, they're going to have a couple weeks of games, maybe 3 weeks for both of those teams to evaluate. And Texas Tech doesn't seem to have missed a beat at all. But, the biggest one that in the history of this kind of a thing was Kenyon Martin, who got hurt in the National Player of the Year for Cincinnati. He got hurt in the first half of his first conference tournament game, which then the team lost. The committee had no idea what to do with Cincinnati, and they were going to be the number 1 overall seed. And instead, they ended up at 2. They only won a game or 2 before they went out. So, but it's hard when you've got injuries for the committee to decide what to do. They don't want to erase the entire body of work. So you might see teams seeded a little bit higher than you think they are right now as they go into the tournament because the entire season still gets taken into account.
When you wake up in the morning, because I wasn't up to see this, and you see that Baker Mazzara has been jettisoned from the USC program, and this is a team that is seriously on the bubble right now. Yeah. Jerry Palm wakes up and sees that, and he thinks what?
I hope for their sake it's addition by subtraction, because sometimes it is. If you've got a guy, no matter how good they are, that is disruptive to the team dynamic, then some kind of a change needs to be made. So for USC's sake, I hope that's what it is. It's a shame, that whatever happened came to that, that a player who's that good was unable to help this team to the point where he's not there anymore. And anyways, it's obviously USC is going to have to soldier on because, they're right squarely on the bubble. And if they're going to make this tournament, they're going to have to earn it. They were going to have to anyway, but the job probably just got a little harder.
Yeah, I would imagine so. A couple more for you before we let you go. Is there a team that has been on the outside looking in for the majority of the past month that you see making headway into this field of 68, a team that would be impactful from not only like a Texas, not only a fan standpoint, but also from a basketball standpoint, somebody who really moves the needle?
Yeah. Well, Ohio State, maybe. They beat Purdue yesterday. That was
huge
a win.
Sorry about that one. Right?
No, that's okay. I mean, everybody got what they deserved. Ohio State desperately needed that win, and they got it. And that doesn't mean they're in the clear yet. There's still a week to go. They could easily give it away. But that's the big boost for them just getting into the tournament. I think that Texas could get it. If they could get in, has a chance to win a game or maybe 2, depending on the draw. I mean, that's the thing for these things is it depends on the draw. And for, those 2 teams, you may have to win a play-in game before you even get into the 64-team bracket. So a little bit of extra work at a trip to Dayton. But that's just a couple. I've had VCU on the fringe of my bracket for about 2 weeks and never had them in. But if they were to win their conference tournament and especially beat St. Louis to do it, that's a team that's done it before. Now, all of those people are gone, but if they can win their conference tournament and they can beat St. Louis, that's a team that goes into the NCAA tournament with some momentum and a big win to carry them.
Seton Hall has been a team that I've been following all year. I actually had them when they lost to Creighton at the buzzer, and I think that was just a real shot through their chances to make the tournament. What did they have to do to end up participating in this field of 68?
They're going to have to, at a minimum, beat someone good. There are 3 Big East teams that are likely tournament teams. Obviously, UConn, St. John's, Villanova. Villanova's a middle of the bracket team. UConn's a potential number 1 seed, potential champion again. And then St. John's is a top 25 team. They're going to have to beat somebody like that just to get the committee's attention, I think, because there just isn't enough on their resume. And they might even need to win 2 of those games. But if they win 2, they probably are champions. So they got to win at least 1. And then, to get into a game with UConn, at least be competitive, show something, because the committee's watching. And while margin of victory isn't a thing, really, for the committee, it helps when they're all sitting there watching you, and you at least put on a show and put the thought in your head was, all right, well, maybe this team could do it, or could get in and win a game or 2, or should get a shot.
So maybe you're telling me too. I pick up from you like some of these conference tournament games are really impressive victories because the committee is locked and loaded and they are hyper focused on some of these games.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you have to be in a position where one game matters. So,
gotcha.
Very, very bubbly, because when you talk about these bubble teams, they all have different problems with their resumes. They're lacking quality wins, or their strength of schedule is not good enough, or they don't have a great record against better teams. There's something different about all of these teams. So you go into your conference tournament hoping that you can fill a hole. And sometimes you don't have enough games left to fill the holes, but at least make an effort to try and fill a hole and give the committee one lasting good impression of you that may be fresh in their head. But, they're sitting there, all the games you played in November count just as much as what you're doing in March. They all count the same, but it can't hurt to try and put a good impression on somebody while they're sitting there debating you at the end of the season.
2 more questions for you. What do you think about a conference like the American that has changed the way that they structure their tournament so that the top 2 seeds get automatic bids to the semifinals? Does that change at all your thinking? Probably, I'm guessing, maybe I'm answering my own question. I'm guessing maybe it doesn't, but that's their effort to get their best teams in the tournament.
Yeah, so you want to have your conference tournament still, because conference tournaments are usually a moneymaker for the league. But you also, when you're only going to put 1 or 2 teams in the tournament, you want your best teams in the tournament, because if they can get in and win some games, that's also more money for your league. So, yeah, you really don't want to put your best teams at a disadvantage, and we see more of that. We've seen what they call ladder brackets, like the West Coast does, where the 4 lowest teams in the tournament start off, and they have to win, and they have to win like 5 games, whereas your best teams have to win 2. And if I'm in a league like that, I would probably try and do something similar, because you want to have your best teams have the best chance to get into the tournament.
I know for the Big 12, and this is my last one, a team like UCF and TCU, TCU seems like they're going to get in, but UCF, their hopes may have taken a bit of a punch losing to Baylor on Saturday night. Are those 2 teams that you see getting into the NCAA tournament?
It's funny because I have UCF more comfortably in than TCU.
Okay.
I think their resume is a little better. Their net ranking is not great, and in part because the net is like Ken Pom and Torvik and those, where it's very heavily influenced by scoring margin, even though the committee's process and what they evaluate is not specifically what. So your own net really doesn't mean anything. It's the net rankings of your opponents is really much more meaningful to a team than their own net ranking. But I think UCF would have to kind of tank here to miss out. I think TCU's still got some work to do to try and get in.
Jerry, how many coaches do coaches call you and ask like, "Hey, do you have us in?" Like
I'll hear more from SIDs, ops guys. I don't talk a lot to say Matt Painter or anything. I mean, I'll talk to him when I see him, but we're not talking about that. But I don't hear from a lot of head coaches. I usually hear from staff.
You do when they retire. Then they're like, "Hey, I'm an analyst now. Let's
go." Actually, I'll run into guys at the Final Four, and I'll talk to coaches at the Final Four. And I've talked to Oakland coach Greg Campy. I probably talked to him more than anybody. And you know what? He's the best. He's the nicest guy in coaching is Greg Campy at Oakland. He's also I think the most tenured coach. Well, like 42 years at Oakland.
He is. The last check for me, too. Yeah, he is. And you're the most tenured bracketologist, so this is perfect. Jerry Palm, thank you so much. Where can people find you?
Homebrackets.com, my new home. And I do football as well during the season. Of course, not much going on at the moment, but it's all about bracketology right now. And for the next 2 weeks, brackets every day. Just as we were getting ready to go on the air, posted one. I haven't even written it up yet, but there's a new bracket up there now. So, but it'll be up there, late morning every day as we go through Selection Sunday.
Palmbrackets.com, PALM. Jerry, thank you so much, dude. I so appreciate the time.
Sure, anytime.
Take it easy. There he goes, the bracketologist. That's that. Look, as far as I'm concerned, that's the first and the best to ever have done it. That's the first guy that I can remember really dialing into and guiding me through this field of what was then, 64. Waiting to see every year. It seemed like Villanova was on the damn bubble. But Jerry Palm, what a privilege that is to talk to him. All right, we'll take a quick break. We're presented by Slovacics. We're coming to you from the TFMB studios here in Central Texas. 365 Sports, the Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacics. Back after this with a little reaction.
Hey, it's Zach Gelb. We're talking NFL and college football. Plus, we have some of the biggest interviews in sports media. You got to check out the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports, weekdays, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 to 3 p.m. Central. And make sure you subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/@ZachGelbShow.
Save big during the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off or choose 0% financing. Get a new Laramie Crew Cab 4-wheel drive with 3.9% financing for 72 months plus $15,000 off MSRP. Explore in a new Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo starting at $31,990. Happening now at Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
If you want a Boston sports show that's going to insult you as a fan and only cares about getting back at their old hosts or who Bill Belichick is dating, then keep tuning your radio. But if you want a sports show that's wicked good, wicked smart, wicked passionate, then you need the Wicked Boston Show with me, Cam Stewart. It is the only Boston sports talk show that is by the fans and for the fans. One voice in this city where the only BS is Boston sports. The Wicked Boston Show.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
Cam, okay, we're okay. This looks good. I rearranged. It does. I rearranged the
Looks great.
Yeah, I rearranged the monitor so I can look straight at it. But this is just a big thank you to Garrett here. You know, boots on the ground at 365 Sports. Catalina just rolled in here. You know, they've opened this place up and welcomed us beyond belief. And over the weekend, I think Corey Dickman was in here. And that's, look, man, the guy writes the checks and signs them. I guess that's how you say it, right? And he's in here over the weekend fixing the lights, fixing the camera. And man, I'm lucky to walk in here, and it's like it's a well-oiled machine, brother.
What a team! What a team we've got, Pete.
We do have a great team.
I'm saying.
Hey, what's your
biggest... thing? Every time I say something, you think I'm just being really sarcastic.
I do. Yeah. I think
you think it's like my default setting, which most of the time is true.
Dude,
but...
it is. What do you think? I just met you? What are you talking about? What am I?
Fell out of the coconut tree?
I mean, seriously, this is.
But that then ruins when I am being genuine. Like most of the time on the show.
You know how to behave yourself. Like the first time you and I met, you called me. I got a message from Toll that this young guy that was really like, you know, a really cool, smart sports guy was doing play-by-play, and he was curious like to make inroads. So we had a phone call, and yeah, that was like a different Cam. So nice, so kind.
Which, by the way, real quick, because I can't take a showering of compliments. What the really funny part about this is, Pete, you've opened up so many doors for me since then, and I haven't done any play-by-play. Like, which is fine, but like that's just funny that's how it started. Like I was like, hey, I want to do play-by-play. How do I do this? And I've done one season of high school football play-by-play since then, which I was already in line for. So,
sorry.
But it's great. I'm not trying to make that as like a thanks, Pete, in a sarcastic way. It's like you have opened up so much for me, and I'm pretty okay with what we're doing right now. We're doing a pretty damn good show.
What would you think about doing a show? And this is because this weekend I just kind of wanted to just vibe on some like brain candy. So I listened to the rewatchables, right? Mm-hmm. I'm fine with us just completely ripping off that format and doing a real like almost like pay homage to those guys and just do our own, because the format of the show is really good.
Yeah,
like they have the rewatchable scenes. I mean, we can mix it up, but I think I was listening to the one they did on Goodfellas over the weekend, and it's so great, dude. I mean,
and you know what's kind of interesting, Pete, is I for years there was never one of these shows, but I think Barstool did one a couple years ago that I listened to a few episodes. It wasn't very good, but like no one goes through like sports movies. And I think there's an interesting kind of road you can go down for that.
I think it could be a springtime project for us here as things sort of slow down a little bit.
Yeah. As you know, like two guys, you and I, who both appreciate movies, although we probably have slightly different tastes in movies. I'm a little more douchey.
I think we're pretty similar, dude.
Yeah, but like you'll watch The Pit or The Rip, excuse me.
I don't watch The Pit.
Too. You'll watch the Rip, that Matt Damon movie, Ben Affleck movie.
Have not. I did watch it. Yeah, that was rough. But look,
do that.
But sometimes it's about popcorn and movies. Catalina's got something. You gotta watch The Pit. You gotta watch The Pit. Oh, I gotta watch The Pit.
You gotta watch The Pit.
All right, but Catalina, what about industry?
Not seen it.
Oh, it's changing my life right now.
Okay, well, listen, you watch The Pit, I'll watch it.
All right, that's a deal. That's a deal. Catalina's got brokering deals in here.
PD, man, you got to broker some deals, dude. But like, there's a couple of different ways, you can talk about the quality of the movie. You can talk about, like, I get really fascinated with gameplay in the movies. Yeah. Like, there's some on paper good movies that don't have good gameplay and sports scenes. And you're like, well, that brings it down for most of your audience. Like, that sucks. Or you can, historical context around things. I know it's not the sexiest part of it, but I love finding historical inaccuracies in sports movies. I love that.
Well, I see that's more of you being a prick.
Yes,
I love
yes.
If you can somehow get a league to sanction their trademarks to use in your movie, I'm probably going to watch. That's a huge thing for me. It's the only thing they didn't have in Any Given Sunday. And of course the NFL was like, and everything they said came to fruition, which
right. Right. They were ahead of it.
Yeah, they were kind of ahead of it. But like, here's a great underrated sports movie. For the Love of the Game, dude. Costner and Kelly Preston, right? It's from every, like, they had me at Vince Scully, dude. And there's stories behind the movie. Like, apparently Costner, like, they did that at Yankee Stadium.
Yep.
And Costner he'd thrown so much throughout the course of the filming that he was like, I'm toast. And this is according to Kevin Costner. He goes to a member of the Yankees training staff and is like, I'm done, man. I got nothing. And he said, they gave me something where I was basically like, I could have pitched the 7th game of the World Series. And in my mind, I thought I would have done just fine,
Here,
you don't. So you were shaking your head. You don't like that?
It's a movie that looks good for sure.
Yeah.
They got the stadium, Vin Scully. They've got the uniforms. They got guys who look like they play baseball, which is something.
John C. Reilly is your catcher.
Yeah, like that kind of 30-something catcher who can't get out of the squat. He hits that double in the game, and it's like hell's freezing over. Like he looks like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's what. And it does look better than some baseball movies. I just don't think that's a great movie, Pete.
It's a
rom-com. Like, it's not even. It's a romantic drama. It's like can we say chick flick anymore?
Sure, you can say it here
on this show. We can.
I went on. I'll say one last thing that's not like politically correct, and I bit my tongue saying it this morning. And then we can react to Jerry Palm, and then we got to run because then we're taping a big interview that we're going to share with folks later on. But the kid from USC, right? Baker Mazzara, who did you see what happened last night?
Yep.
So guy's 26. Okay. He's had a bumpy road, right? And the stuff, Eric Musselman.
By the way, real quick, that means he is closer to me in age than he is to the average college senior. Just putting that out there. Don't make me show the bald spot, but that's a crazy number.
I mean, he's older than your boy from Duke, the guy who's been a bust, Zion. He's older than Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
Like, has Zion been a bust?
I mean, yeah. Like, I struggle with busts who get injured. Yeah. Like is Greg Oden a bust? By letter of the law, yes. Like one of the biggest ever. But like he couldn't be healthy. He wasn't healthy. You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny to look back now and be like, well, of course Durant should have gone over Oden. But that was a legitimate toss-up at the time. A legitimate toss-up. And you know what? If it had been 4 years later with how basketball was going, it probably would have been a slam dunk to Durant. But we were still at the end of, like, back to the basket, rim protectors, paint scorers. Anyway, that was a long answer.
I have some dark stories connected to that draft. The Sixers sent me to that draft in New York. And I had not slept all night. And then because I was there, I had to take, who was drafted through the whole We'll tell that another day. Dark. It was like watching an episode of Industry.
Who's drafted? Do you remember?
Yeah, they drafted the kid from Carolina who they traded that night. I forget his name right now. He was a great kid. I took him through the whole thing. My boss was like, hey, he's going to wear this. Oh, no, it was for Charlotte. I'm sorry. It was Charlotte. Okay. So he was like, you're going to take him through this whole media circuit for the draft. But when we finish up, he's not going to be a Charlotte Bobcat anymore. So through the whole freaking thing.
The NBA, man. The NBA sucks with that.
The guy figures out that he's getting traded, and he's looking at me. I'm like, well, and he's like, am I getting traded or what? It was Brandon. I forget. He didn't have too much of an impact in the NBA. Brandon.
Man, I should know this, though.
Brandon Williams? No. Brandon. He was 2007.
I could just look this up.
Yeah, look it up real quick.
Could just be a producer here.
And I'll tell you the story that I was talking to Toll this morning, National Radio Waves, where you make appearances on the regular. Drake Toll's awesome, and we were talking about this Baker Mazzara thing, and Drake was
Brandon Wright.
Brandon Wright, there you go.
Yep.
So, and literally David Falk I'm sitting with this guy in the green room, and David Falk, who's obviously close with Michael Jordan, looks at me, looks at Brandon Wright, and says, drum roll, you're not keeping him. You know that, right? I'm like, and he's looking at me like, yeah, real story. And that's the issue. Honestly, these NBA teams, I don't know if it's changed at all, but like maybe you don't send a 27, 28-year-old cocaine-addled drug addict who makes $50,000 a year to represent your organization at the NBA draft. I mean, just an idea. And maybe you want to, like, those PR people, like the managers, like they make nothing. But they're like running these guys around, telling them what to say half the time. It's crazy. All right, so here's my Baker Mazzara thing. Drake was like, you know, it's funny. Drake's the host, and when he has a guest on, he does sort of go into like host mode where he's got like his manners about him, but he's talking to me. And he was asking about Baker Mazzara, and I wanted to say, and you can't say this anymore, but it is like there's a little something to it, and I'll say it because Chris Rock said it in one of his first specials. Like Drake's making excuses for this dude. I'm like thinking in my head, whatever happened to crazy? Like it's that simple. Like
sometimes it fits, man.
As good as the guy is, whether you want to call it mental health or whatever, as good as these guys are, sometimes it's just not worth it.
Yep.
And Jerry Palm just said that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what are your thoughts on the Jerry Palm interview, by the way?
I mean, love that. Love a guy who's just completely in the weeds like that in the best way possible. Loved the bubble talk. The thing about BYU is really interesting. And I was talking about this with Drake Toll yesterday, actually, of like, do I have belief in BYU at this point in the NCAA tournament? No, I don't. They don't play defense. They give up almost 85 a game in the conference like that.
Yeah.
It's really tough for me to bet on that. But the point that Drake made was, well, you know, they'll face, whatever, an 11 seed, and then they'll face, you know, a 3 seed who's an ACC team that's probably ranked too high, or a Big Ten team that's ranked too high. And what Palm said there was another kind of feather in the cap of like, I don't want to be the team that's going up against AJ DeBonsa.
No, you don't, dude.
You know what I mean? Like you can get into a shootout second round and win. In the Sweet 16, Elite 8, probably not, but you can get past that first round. AJ has a game where he shoots 13 of 20 and he's taking a ton of shots, but makes a lot. And, you know, they force some turnovers and bam, you know, you're winning a game 87-80.
But you nailed it. Their lack of defense is concerning.
It's alarming.
Right?
And that's also a team that you say, okay, well then they can go out in the first round because they don't have the defense. And if they have a cold shooting night or DeBonsa doesn't get to the line and it's officiated differently, then you're done in the first round. So
all right. Well, we got to get out of here. We got Coach Hodgson, who is joining us for a very special presentation of the Pete Sousa Show. He's waiting in the waiting room. So we're going to wrap things up here. Thank you so much to Bumblebee Blinds of Waco and Temple. Also like to say thank you to Club Waco golf course, or Lake Waco, golf course. Looking forward to getting out there, golf club. And we're presented by Slovaceks. We will see you guys tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Sports.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.